Hi, Lisa here from Live Yummy and Artful Living. And I wanted to go live today to show you a little bit about the Valentine's Day cards that I am making just for fun out of just a couple of very simple ingredients. I'm using brown paper grocery bags. All these cards were made out of just one grocery bag and a few pages out of an old book. This was a book that had no value, and I just painted up some pages and cut them in the shape of hearts. And then the rest is just whatever art supplies you happen to have at home. So thought I would show you what I'm doing here and give you a little bit of an idea of how I'm doing it so that you can make some at home yourself or with some friends or with some kids, anyone who happens to be in your life that might enjoy such a thing. So here's the little rundown. I started with one grocery bag, a brown paper grocery bag that didn't have writing on it. And I just cut it up into squares, into some bigger squares and some smaller squares, but you could cut it into circles or rectangles or hearts even if you want to start with. This is sort of the base of the card, so it's a little heavier and a little thicker. And then all I did was take a couple of paintbrushes, whatever paintbrushes you happen to have around, and I just smushed a bunch of red and pink paint around the edges. I didn't do anything pretty. I didn't try to make it look attractive. It's just the background. So I just squished a bunch of red and coral and pink kind of paints around, pink and red and white. These were the paints I used. Debbie's Design Diary DIY paints. These are clay-based paints that I use for the furniture that I paint. So this is Cowgirl Coral and this is Carnival Red. I used those two, and then I also used some acrylic paint. This red and this red. I used this red as well, and I used a little gold. And I used this white one. So I just smushed paint around the outside. You don't need to do the middle because the heart is going to go over the center there. And so I just did that on all of them. And let them dry. And while they were drying, I then took an old book. And I know we all love old books, so don't worry. This one has absolutely no value, I assure you. It's really broken. It really has no value. I checked on eBay. I promise you it has no value. And I just tore some pages out of it. This one happens to be in French, which is kind of nice for the project I'm working on, but it doesn't really matter. Any book is fine. A map would be cool. Old letters that you have or old artwork that you have sitting around. You can use sheet music, anything that you have, any kind of paper. I tore some pages out, and then I just put some pink or red or purple and white paint on them and smushed on that sheet of paper. I just smushed the paint around on that sheet of paper so that it had sort of a mottled pink and white and purplish kind of look. And then I smeared a little gold paint on it too, because I like gold. It gave it a fun little look. It wasn't a big deal. I just smushed a little gold paint on. I actually used the bottom of a glue stick. I dunked this in the gold paint and smeared it around. Then when that dried, I cut them into the heart shapes. I just cut them into the shapes of the hearts. So what I had was stacks of the card base and stacks of the hearts. And then I started gluing them on. Some took 2 hearts and some took 1 heart. And then the fun really begins, because then you can really take out all your art supplies and start duding them up with whatever you like. And it really is whatever you have at home, right? So now I'm going to put you up here a little bit so that I can say hi to you, and so that you can see, so I can have my hands free and show you a little bit more about what I'm working on. Pardon me if it's a little noisy while I put this on. Sorry about that. So go. I hope you can, let me just make sure that you can see that okay. Yeah, that should work well. Okay, so then it really is a matter of whatever art supplies you have at home. First of all, you might have some kind of markers. So I love Sharpies. I have a big collection of markers of Sharpies especially. So I pulled these colors out because they were particularly great for that. You might have crayons. Any kind of crayon is great, or Crayons or other oil pastels. But crayons work just as great. I have a big collection of crayons. I love them. And again, these same kind of colors, but you can use any colors. There's no reason Valentine's can't be blue and green and any color you want, right? But black and white looks great, plus any kind of red and pink and purple. Um, and then if you have ink pads and stamps, I happen to have some little creative stamps, and I had two that have little hearts on them. They're very small, but they, you can see they give this kind of little stamp look here. So it's not a big impression, but it gives a nice little something on there. I also happened to have, I had bought these about 10 years ago and had never opened them. I knew I would love them, but I didn't really know what they were going to be like. And what it is like a little ink pad that I could use my stamp with or use just by itself. So, for example, what this will do is you can put like a little teardrop of ink on anything, and it just adds a little dimension of of silver ink to anything you're working with. Could be the whole teardrop shape, but in this case, I'm just using the tip. But you know, this, I thought these were a lot of fun, and I used these quite a bit on this project. You can see I just did this a few minutes ago. Whoops, still wet. I just did this a few minutes ago around the center where the heart is going to go. So if you have any kind of ink pad or stamp pad, whether you have stamps or want to just use the pad itself, that's kind of cool. Then I also have these crazy things. They're like a little hole punch that you stick the thing in, but it stamps it as a star. So when it cuts the star out, it cuts it out like that. So you can also use magazine cutouts. You could use, like I have these little beads with the colored letters on it. You could put someone's initial on there. You could stitch it on with string or thread or embroidery thread, or you could glue it on. You could use some kind of ribbon, really anything that you want. Markers of all kinds, thick ones, thin ones. Like I say, magazine cutouts. Fabric works really well. This is a tiny little piece of fabric, but let me see. Here's, I can show you. Here's one where I cut this fabric out as a little heart and put it on here too. So really anything that you think would give it a fun dimension, you can use. If you have stickers of any kind, like I have this fun set of stickers from a hair thing that came in a package of hair supplies or something. Any stickers you have that would be fun. And I have these crazy little, I don't even know where these came from. I think it's a scrapbooking doodad that has like the little I don't even know what these are called, but they're like a little metal star. So I used those sometimes. So I just then had a free-for-all, and this is perfect for doing something with kids because first of all, it starts out so simple. It's just a brown paper bag and a cut up book. So when you put that on, that's pretty simple tools to start with. But kids love like a taco, um, uh, like a salad bar or a taco bar, right? So it's kind of like that. It's like an art bar. So I think most of us like that. So now I'm just gonna like glue this on with a glue stick. I'll just give you an idea how I do this here. So I'm just gonna pick one of these, put the glue stick on the back, and it is an old book, so I have to be a little careful with the glue stick. but there's nothing here that a kid can't do, right? And there's nothing here to be perfectionistic about. There's no right way. And that's really great when you're doing art with kids, because, what we want, of course, is to raise kids who are willing to try things and willing to not be good at things at first and to make a mess and to not know what they're doing, but to try it anyway. We want brave kids, right? Well, if we want brave kids, let's start with some art. Yeah, it's a great place to start with kids. Well, this glue stick isn't working very well, I gotta say, right now. Um, just gotta hold it for a sec. I think it doesn't like, maybe the glue stick doesn't like going over this ink so much. Maybe the ink might not be fully dry. The glue stick has been working great up until right now. Yeah, there we go. So once that's on, then you can just take whatever you have. If all you have is like 2 colors of paint, great. Do 2 colors of paint. And you can make a lot with 2 colors of paint. The one color, the other color, and then you can blend the 2 colors of paint and make 5 other colors, with those 2 colors of paint. So don't worry about not having enough stuff. I've just pulled out pretty much everything I have. Oh, a couple of colored pencils too. So like really anything you have will work. If you have ribbon, if you have magazine cutouts, anything that you have is a great thing to use on something like this. And there's still plenty of time before Valentine's Day, so you have plenty of time to pull together some magazines or some sheet music or find an old book that has no value, right? So what I've discovered is that if I do the marker first, before the oil pastel, then the oil pastel will make it a little oily. So I don't like to do the marker after the oil. So I'll just, again, I'm not trying to make this, I'm not gonna like make a perfect little heart, right? I'm trying to make this be like kind of layered, right? I'm trying to do layers of things. So I'm trying to definitely not make it perfect. Definitely not make it perfect. That's not what I'm after. Now, if you're a perfectionist, you might wish to do this a different way, right? You might have a whole different way you want to do this. You might get out the lace doilies and, do a little perfect thing, and that's totally cool. Do it however you like, whatever makes you and your kids or your friends or whoever you're doing it with happiest, right? It's your life. You get to do it your way. I'm doing it my way. And I'm showing you, like, if you're horrified right now, don't worry about it. It's like, I'm halfway through and it's going to look ugly before it looks good. And that's just how art is. I've gotten really good at allowing for all the imperfection. I've had to get really good at that because boy, is my art imperfect. I've become a really big fan of imperfect art. When my kids were little, I was not such a big fan of that, and I think I shortchanged my kids some because of that. I wish I had been a little more forgiving about all the mistakes that we tend to make in life. And I wish I had been a little less worried about, trying to reach a perfect state. I'm trying to see if anybody has any questions. This is the first time I've gone live on YouTube, so I don't even know if anybody's going to end up seeing this, but let's see. So I'll just add a little bit of purple in here because that's fun to do. And I'm just gonna, mix it up and make it a little different. Like every one of these that I've done is totally different from all the others, and I like that personally. I think that makes it really fun. But it's really okay if you don't like anything I'm doing. You can just do everything your very own way. I don't like that this glue stick is not sticking. I think I'm learning that the glue stick does not like going on top of that ink. So I think what I'll end up doing is stitching. Stitching on these could be really, really cool. So I think what I'll end up doing is taking a couple of these. I might even spell out the word love or something, and I'll just stitch them around here, because this needs to be stitched down. It's not going to stay. I'm just not going to do that while I'm on with you, because I don't have the sewing machine is over there. And what I can do too is pull out one of these stars. So I'm gonna try using one of these stars as the thing to hold this down over here. And I didn't even know I had these, so the chances of you having these at home, I don't know if they're very good. If you've done any scrapbooking, then you probably have even more supplies at home than I do. Scrapbookers tend to have a ton of stuff like this, right? There we go. That'll hold that part of that heart down. There, that works pretty great. And it just looks like it's part of the decoration, and nobody has to know that it's technically holding my design together, right? But I'll do a little stitching over here then, I think, and that'll help with that. So that's just the kind of idea. It's really just a playing free for all. Some of the designs I've done, I'll just give you an idea. So I've used some with stickers. I've used the Craypas, the colored pencils. I've also done a fun little thing. Let me see if I can show you a better example of this. Here's one. I haven't done the whole thing on this one yet, but the paint background, I took a fine little red marker and drew the line between where the color has a variation. So like, see how the color varies here? I didn't outline it on this one, but I did outline it on this one. So I took the little red marker, very fine marker, and just drew an outline along there. Hello, puppy, sweetie. Hello, darling. You're okay, baby. And that gives it a kind of a fun look. I did it with a darker marker on this one, and so that's kind of got a nice look to it. I took some gold paint and just outlined the two hearts here, and I'm gonna do, a whole lot more to these two. These I haven't really done these much at all yet. Let's see, I'll show you some of the others. Then I've used the cutout tool to cut out the star here. And then what's cool is after the star is cut out, I can put it over a heart, say one of the cutout hearts, and I can color it with the Craypa, and it'll color onto the heart. So then I have a color, it's like a stencil, right? And then once I've cut the heart out, I can use that cutout heart and put it onto another piece, so that it's also an attachment I can add to embellish the other piece. So, you just play. It's just play and play and play. It's just whatever pieces you have at home, you can just take them and play with them. Whether, like I say, whether it's fabric, which this is this tiny little piece, but boy, could you go crazy with fabric. All of these hearts could be cut out of fabric instead of a book page. It could be sheet music. It could be a map. It could be Xerox copies of love letters, or letters that somebody in your family wrote, somebody who has passed already. It could be poetry. It could be anything that you want it to be, right? It's really, you could take calligraphy pens and you could handwrite something if you're good at that. I'm not particularly good at that, so that's not something I'm going to do to these poor things. But it really is just a matter of whatever is fun for you. So I hope that gives you an idea of, some of the fun things that you can do to make Valentine's Day cards. And I'm planning to go live again next weekend on Sunday to show again what some of these look like and how to make them. And maybe I'm thinking that by next Sunday, people will be a little bit more ready to be actually making cards. I know I'm a little ahead right now because people are just, not even really starting to think about Valentine's Day yet. But for once, I am actually thinking a little bit ahead and planning to, get ready for the season a little bit ahead of time. So I hope this was helpful in some way. And I appreciate everybody who popped on for a few minutes. And feel free to leave a message if there's questions that you have or anything. My website is liveyummy.com, liveyummy.com. And I do sell these. I have these DIY paints there. They're clay, porcelain clay based paints that also have chalk. They're clay and chalk based paints. They're amazing for painting furniture and, cupboards and everything, like tables and chairs, because they adhere really well. But they're also great for all kinds of canvas art and paper art and everything else. I also use the acrylic paint that you can get anywhere. And also a great thing I'm going to use on top of some of these is Posca pens. I love my Posca pens. I just haven't pulled them out yet. I'm afraid I'll use them on every single one. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.